Gunung or Mount Bromo is an active somma volcano and part of the Tengger Mountains in East Java. At 2,329 metres, it's not the highest peak of the range, but it is the most famous. It's nestled in the regencies of Probolinggo, Parasuran, Lamjamang and Malang. The area is one of the most visited tourist destinations in East Java, and the volcano is included in the Bromo Tengger Semeru National Park. Gunung Bromo is still one of the most active volcanoes in the world, and there are regularly areas that are blocked off from tourists due to its imminent danger. The first recorded eruption of Gunung Bromo occurred in 1775. Reports of ash emissions and explosions from the volcano. Another significant eruption was recorded in 1822, which resulted in ash emissions and lava flows that reached the nearby sea. In 1856, Gunung Bromo erupted again, with reports of ash emissions, explosions and lava flows that travelled down the slopes of the volcano. A period of increased volcanic activity occurred between 1915 and 1921, with multiple eruptions and ash emissions reported. These eruptions resulted in the formation of a new crater known as the Sea of Sand crater. Another significant eruption occurred in 1950 with reports of ash emissions, explosions and lava flows. This eruption caused damage to local crops and infrastructure. Gunung Bromo experienced another period of increased activity in 1974 to 75, with eruptions that produced ash plumes and lava flows that reached the base of the volcano. One of the most significant recent eruptions of Gunung Bromo occurred in January 2010, with ash emissions and volcanic gases that resulted in closure of the surrounding area to tourists. The vegetation of the Bromo Tengger Semeru National Park consists of four main types: highland forest, alpine forest, casuarina forest and grassland. There are 600 species of flora in the park, including Javanese edelweiss that grows in the high altitudes, and about 200 species of endemic orchids. There are about 130 species of birds and 22 species of mammals living in the park, including the Java rusa, a deer, a wild pig, silver-leaf monkey, leopard and marbled cat. The Tengger volcanic complex consists of new caldera of 5 volcanoes inside a larger and older caldera. These 5 volcanoes are Gunung Bromo, which as we said is 2,329 metres in height, Gunung Batok, 2,470 metres, Gunung Kursi, 2,581 metres, Gunung Batok, 2,661 metres, and Gunung Widodaren, 2,650 metres. These are surrounded by the vast Tengger Sand Sea, which is in turn surrounded by a steep crater wall of the large Tengger caldera. And nearby Gunung Semeru is also known as Maharu, Great Mountain, is one of Indonesia's most active volcanoes. And what stands out most about this mountain is that it erupts periodically and very reliably. I've read, I don't know if I can believe this, but well, it's certainly what I've read. Every 20 minutes or so, the volcano belches out a huge cloud of steam and smoke, sometimes interspersed with ash and stones. The name Bromo comes from the Javanese pronunciation of Brahma, the Hindu god of creation. At the mouth of the crater there is an idol of Ganesha, the Hindu god of wisdom, which is being worshipped by the Javanese Hindus. Yadnya Kasada, also known as Kasodo, is a traditional Hindu ritual of the Tenggerese people. The ritual is to the deity Hai Widawasara, or Mahadeva, the gods of the mountain, whom they believe to have granted them with blessings, abundance and welfare. The Bromo volcano is therefore considered one of the most sacred places. If it erupts, it's believed that their god is very angry. On the 14th day of the Hindu vessel, Yadnya Kasada, the Tenggerese people of Purbalingo Regency travel up the mountain to conduct prayers and other ceremonies performed at the mountain to honour the ancestors, seek protection and express gratitude. They make offerings of fruit, rice, vegetables, flowers and sacrifices of livestock to the mountain gods by throwing them into the caldera of the volcano. It's claimed that it's here that Brahma, the Hindu god of creation, sacrificed his son by throwing him into the crater as an offering. Although the event has its roots in 15th century folklore from the Majapahit Empire during the reign of Raja Brawijaya. Yes, the same king is said to have found refuge in Gunung Kidul, although there's even some debate if he actually existed. At the fall of the Majapahit Empire, the princess of the kingdom and her husband, Roro Anteng, took refuge in the slopes of Mount Bromo. In the upper slopes of Mount Bromo, the couple and their followers later settled in the Tengger Mountains and ruled the region jointly under the title Probawisia Mankarut in Tengger. Under their leadership, the Tenggerese people settled and began to flourish. But the couple were not happy as they remained childless after many years of marriage. They therefore meditated atop Mount Bromo, asking the mountain gods for assistance. The gods granted them 24 children on the condition that the 25th child must be thrown into the volcano as a human sacrifice. Another version of the legend is that the couple didn't follow the promise. God became angry with threatening to inflict catastrophe. Then from the pitch-black crater of Gunung Bromo, fire was sprayed. Their youngest son, Kasuma, vanished from the sight of the fire and into the crater of Bromo. Along with Kasuma's disappearance came the voice, "My dear friends, I've been sacrificed by our parents, and Sang Hyang Widi saved all of you. Live in peace and serenity. Worship Sang Hyang Widai. I remind you every month of Kasada on the 14th day to make offerings to Sang Hyang Widi at the crater of Mount Bromo." Their son is said to have willingly jumped into the volcano to guarantee the prosperity of the Tenggerese people. Non-Hindu locals also claimed the volcano with nets to catch these offerings. Strange though it may seem to the Western viewers, but worshippers don't really object to this. For once an offering has been made, the contract is also made. For this same reason, it's not really that disrespectful to tread on banana leaf offerings in Bali. But if you do go there, please don't stamp on them or be obviously disrespectful. Tenggerese people are one of the most prominent Hindu communities in Java. Their numbers are between 100,000 and 600,000. I know that sounds strange to have such a big spread, but in common with much of rural Java, many people will not be officially registered and therefore not counted by authorities. They reside in 30 villages, including Gadisari, Wonokitri, Gadas, Argosari, Ranuprani, Ledogombo and Wonokurso, scattered in around Gunung Bromo, with smaller communities elsewhere in East Java. The Tenggerese speak an ancient Majapahit dialect called Tengger Javanese, although it does contain some elements of modern Javanese. They have their own written Jawi script, based on the old Javanese Brahmi script. The Tenggerese are therefore believed to be descendants of the Majapahit Majapahit princes that were driven into the hills after the arrival of the devoutly Muslim Maduris in the 19th century. The Maduris immigrants were labourers working for the Dutch coffee plantations. The Tenggerese people, being outnumbered, either converted to Islam or fled to the inhospitable high mountain tops where they remain today. This has much resonance with stories I have told of Gunung Kidul, where the Kajawan religion is much more prominent on the higher ground. Indeed, residents higher up the mountains do have darker skin, like people from the Majapahit heartland in East Java, although most Gunung Kidul residents would associate themselves with Islam. Therefore, most Tenggerese claim Hinduism as their religion, although they've incorporated many Buddhist and animist elements. Like the Balinese, they worship Ida Sang Hyang Widiwasa, Big Almighty Lord, for blessings, in addition to other Hindu and Buddhist deities that include Trimurti, which is a combination of Shiva, Brahma and Vishnu, and Buddha. Their places of worship include Puris at Pundan, Potan and Danyang. The Tenggerese also worship a host of spirits, or I suppose it's a form of ancestral worship. These include Chikal Bakal, the spirit of the founders of the village, the Raw Baharekso, the village guardian spirit, and the Raw Lehuru, the spirit of the ancestors. During these rituals, doll-like figures representing the spirits are clothed in batik cloth and presented with food and drink. It's believed that the spirits partake in the essence of the offerings, leaving them intact. Sajanan is presented to the guardian deities by the priest in a formal liturgy. On different occasions, foods are offered as sajanan, such as during weddings, a cone of rice, known as Tupang Walangara, is offered. It's considered to be a source of blessings for the couple and the whole village. Suganan are offered by ordinary Tenggerese Hindus to their ancestral spirits. Tamping are food offerings to evil spirits to ward off bad luck, and typically consist of meat, rice and bananas, wrapped in leaves and put in at places such as cemeteries, bridges and road intersections. The priests are called Dukan or Resi Pujanga. They play a role in their religious worship. They're believed to possess spiritual knowledge of the gods and the spirits, called Ilmu, which they carefully guard from the ordinary Tenggerese. Priesthood is hereditary and generally passed down from father to son. Each village has only one of these priests, with 3 assistants, Lengan, Sepu and Dandang. The religion is quite low-key, however, certainly when compared to Java, with the most visible manifestation of faith being the Rudhrasthia Purapote temple, locally called Sagarawedi, the Sand Ocean, and on it sits this Hindu temple, called the Pura Luhu Potan. The temple organises the annual Yadnya Kasada ceremony, which lasts for about 1 month. The major differences between this temple and the Balinese ones are the types of stones and building materials. Pura Luhu Potan uses natural black stones from volcanoes nearby, whilst Balinese temples are mostly made from red bricks. Inside the Pura are several buildings and enclosures, aligned in a mandala. Over the past few decades, due to overpopulation in Madura, many Madurese settlers exploited the Tenggerese land by clearing some of their nature reserves and converting 2 to 3% of the Tenggerese to Islam in the process, particularly those in the more accessible areas in the lowlands. Because of this missionary activity, the remaining Hindu Tenggerese asked the Balinese Hindus for help by reforming their culture and religion closer to that of the Balinese. The Indonesian government declared the Tengger Mountains as the Bromo Tengger Semeru National Park, thus making further logging illegal, protecting the Tenggerese. I thought I'd better add a few things as a sort of postscript, if you like. I've sometimes used the word gods and at other times God. Well, officially in Indonesia, whatever religion you subscribe to, it has to be monotheistic. And I've no idea what the Tenggerese really believe, but I suspect they do believe in one God, and that the other deities I've spoken of, they see as spirits. They see as legends. They don't actually see them as gods. I might be wrong, you know. I mean, I'm not trying to claim that I know. The other thing is, I've said that they're Hindu. Well, there are only 7 official religions in Indonesia. It does include Hindu, but it doesn't include Kejawen or a Majapahit religion, which would be or Shaivism, for example, which would be a combination of Hindu and Buddhist, certainly in Indonesia. So they've had to choose to be Buddhist. The other point is that I've said that the Madoris are somewhat conservative Islamic, and some will be, but then Madura has a reputation for some of the darkest black magic in the whole of Indonesia. So I don't want to give the impression that the Madoris are all fanatical fundamentalist Muslims. I mean, some will be, but I think it's wrong to characterise them as that. And I'm sure there's been pressure on the Tenggerese to convert from Hinduism to Islam, just as there is everywhere in Indonesia. I'm not trying to say that it doesn't exist. But the government they always blame the common people, when really it's probably more their policies that are creating this tension than community tensions amongst the common people. Well, that's my little soapbox.